Hey guys, welcome to my review of the Acer Orion X. Now before we get into the video, I have got a lot to say, so I suggest you get some drinks and snacks and get yourself comfy. Also, just to cover, in the previous review, I had a lot of people saying, mine's not like this, I don't have those issues, but then they told me they had a different model, which is obviously going to have a lot of variables. So a little bit of a preface that this review is going to be for the specific model Orion X, which has the following specs. The Intel i9-3900KS with the RTX 4080, also 32GB of DDR5 memory with 2TB of NVMe Gen 4 SSD. So first up, the design. Acer have gone for a spaceship theme for this iteration, which is actually less than half of the size of the Orion 7000, a much more compact system which is just 15.4 litres. Acer has split the design into three zones, with the side panels being unlatched from the front of the system. And before we get inside, let's have a look at what else is on the front. Firstly, there's a plastic panel which covers the zone access. These are just magnets though, and they're easily removed. Removing the front panel gives you access to a removable SSD drive enclosure if you want to take some files with you, much like we saw on the Orion 7000, but again, the drive isn't included. At the bottom of the front panel, there's a USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type C and a USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A. We've also got a microphone and audio jack on there too. Onto the zones of the PC, we've got three on this system, but the two main ones are the left and right. The left side houses the graphics card, and then the right takes the motherboard with its associated parts, power supply and the cooler. Looking a bit closer at the left hand side, the RTX 4080 seems to be a little bit of a smaller model than your standard one, but as you'll see in the testing, it does perform as expected. Acer have also included a right angle 12V high power cable in the box if you want to upgrade your graphics card in the future. Given that GPUs tend to get bigger, it might be a bit of a challenge to find something that fits and is actually an upgrade. On the right hand side is the bulk of the other components. We've got the 3900KS on a Z790 RTX board, but as I covered in the overview, the I/O seems a little bit limited, matching what you'd expect to see on a B series board. Acer have gone with ADATA memory sticks on this system, so no horrible green PCBs are visible. Good job. The storage is actually two 1TB NVMe's, and why they've done it that way I'm not quite sure. Drive performance isn't overly fast either. This could be because of the two separate drives, but we're seeing around 4000 megabits per second, and ideally we want to see something faster than that with a system at this price. Power is coming from an 850W SFX unit. I'm not too sure about the manufacturer, but just bear in mind this is at the limit for the wattage recommendation for the 4080, so should you want to put something more powerful in, you might need to upgrade your PSU too. Acer finally upgraded the cooling to a 240mm AAO as well. Now I'd still like to see something a little bit bigger, then the fans can run slower, but it's certainly an upgrade over the Heathrow volume 120mm AAO in the Orion 7000, that's for sure, and I'll talk more about thermals later on. On to software and testing. Firstly, a quick look around the BIOS. As you can see, Acer have got a custom design here, but it is a little bit limiting of what you can do, but it is aimed at people that don't want to build their PC in the first place, so they're unlikely to want to tinker in the BIOS either. You can also change your overclocking mode here if you'd rather do that over using the Predator Sense software. And talking about the Predator Sense app, let's look at what we've got available here. Firstly, the homepage has got all the info you need to know at a glance, including the scenario option on with an animated person/thing. The second tab is for the PC scenario and then the overclocking profile. You can easily swap these over and then choose a fan profile to match. I'm glad to report the noise is nothing like the Orion 7000. It can be louder at 100%, but it's greatly improved upon the previous generation. We've also got lighting control and then True Harmony, which is an audio preset for any connected audio device. Monitoring on the next tab if you'd like to see the detailed stats of your system. And lastly, an App Center if you'd like to control what's installed over using it in Windows. So on to testing and then the benchmarks. Even though this has a 13900KS and a slower drive, there was zero bottleneck for the 4080, allowing it to perform as expected. I tested a couple of games, Forza Horizon 5 and Shadow of the Tomb Raider on high, which you'll see on screen. I'd run this at 1440p maxed out because I still had some room to turn up the quality. Then if you're going to run a 144 or 165Hz monitor, it's also going to be nice and buttery smooth. Otherwise it performs as a 4080 should. I didn't test a massive range of games simply because it was performing as expected, and there are dozens of 4080 Founder Edition reviews on YouTube if you want to know about a specific game. After I got my game data, I immediately tried to batter the 3900KS to see how it would hold up with the 240mm AAO. It's one of the fastest yet hottest CPUs on the market, but it did hold up very well, I am pleased to say. The fans did ramp, but the increased surface area from that rad meant it just didn't need to spend the fans nowhere near as much as the abomination of the 120mm AAO that was on the Orion 7000, and especially when under lower load or idle, it's so much quieter. As much as I tried, I couldn't get this thing to throttle, which is a good thing to see. The Orion 7000 did instantly when doing a multi-score run in Cinebench. And then even with the 13900KS, we only reached a maximum of 91 degrees, even on turbo, so it's performing as it should. Certainly under the 100-degree throttle limit, so well done Acer. One thing that is a little bit strange though, it gave a lower multi-score than I expected, around 34,000, whereas I'd expect around 39, because my 3900K, let alone the KS, can do that without any problem, so could be a bit of a limitation from the storage there. I also did run the 3D Mark Time Spy, Geekbench and Blender. Those are all free downloads if you like to get them and compare to your current system. Now the Blender render tested, crashed the system twice before I could get a result, which was a little bit odd, but these kinds of things can happen with the sheer amount of component combinations that there are on the market, and that could just be down to this system alone. The 3900K, let alone the KS, is wicked fast. You've got 8 performance cores, 16 efficiency cores. Sometimes you'd see the volts go up to about 1.5 sometimes, which is a little bit of a uh-oh territory, but that's what happens when you give the motherboard full control of auto voltage. Also, setting volts could cause some instability in some systems, as all CPUs are different and the voltage that they require. So that would result in a lot of support requests for Acer, where people suddenly find their systems crashing. So the variable volts is understandable. If it was ramping over 100 degrees, then that would be more of an issue, but thankfully it's not. So not too much to worry about there. Now, after going up on the roller coaster, unfortunately, it is time to go over that edge and plummet. And that's down to the price. So Currys, a UK retailer, is currently selling this for £3,299. That's including a £500 offer, which seems to come and go with Currys. And a system of a comparable specs from CyberPower will come out at £2,199, so a whole £1,000 cheaper, even when it's on offer. That's the real sticking point with otherwise a good and much improved system. It's just far too expensive. The only difference between this and the CyberPower system I can see is the case, and yes, it is unique and a different design, but it's not £1,000 unique. It's also a little bit limited for upgrades as well, and like if you were to go for a conventional pre-built from a system integrator, like I said in the Orion 7000 review, you could just get all off-the-shelf branded components, some of which have a longer warranty than the Orion X anyway. Hopefully with things like right to repair, and we see people wanting to upgrade their systems rather than buying a whole new thing, we will see some options from Acer for that, but at the moment it's a little bit limited on what you can do. Overall though, it is miles better than the previous 7000 and being much smaller. Usually when you shrink something down, it just brings more issues, so they do deserve commendation for making it compact and better. It's also nice to see they've improved it with the changes that I'd hoped we'd see. It's a great system, but just currently too expensive. So I think that's it for this video. Thank you for watching all the way through. If you did, it was a lengthy one, and obviously as you can tell, the system was already gone back, so let me know if there's anything you'd like to know that I haven't covered, and I can always try and get it back to actually cover that. I'm also tempted to try and build a comparable system to see how much money it would save, so leave a like if you want to see that. I'll leave the links to the system in the description box below if you do want to pick one up. Please subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you aren't already. Of course, a big thank you to Acer for sending it out for me to review. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.